If you've been following the headlines, then you know that layoffs have been lighting up the news cycle. While layoffs aren't new, what is new is that even profitable companies are downsizing. As a money matriarch, your top priority should be protecting your loved ones from uncertainty. That means having a plan. While I personally haven't been laid off, I have seen how layoffs can impact anyone, regardless of your role, regardless of your tenure, regardless of your performance. That's why it's so important to not only diversify your income with side hustles, build an emergency fund, but also take any step towards pursuing financial independence. While these decisions won't prevent you from uncertainty, they will help you be more prepared once, if and when you are in a situation where you are laid off. So I wanted to go over 3 stories that have made me personally, where I've been personally impacted by layoffs, and what I hope that you gain from these stories as well. Okay, so the first story is when back in 2023, I received a promotion. I worked really, really hard. I applied for a promotion and I finally got it, and I was so excited because I was like, this is it. I finally got my dream job. I applied for this career. I was actually got it. I was just so excited that to me, it felt like this was it. This was my opportunity to finally be in the career that I wanted to be in. And for the first 90 days in your role, you're still getting adjusted to the role. So it was difficult, but I was still really excited about the role. And those 90 days were great. And 90 days into me getting this role, I found out that my company was restructuring. So I was essentially hired on to create duplicity within a role that had existed in the company for more than 20 years. The person that I was taking a role, learning, understudying under, was going to be retiring within the next 5 years, and my goal was to learn how to do her job so that I could basically replace her once she retired. At least that's what I thought. So, like I said, 90 days within me taking on this role, our company restructured entirely. The whole department, not only just my role, but the entire department was dissolved. And so as a result, not only was my position being eliminated, but the position that I was working to take over was also being eliminated. So what I hope that you take from this story is that even well-planned career moves can be disrupted by forces outside of your control. Job security is never guaranteed. Restructures come out of nowhere, and just because a job or a role has existed for more than 20 years doesn't mean that it will still exist tomorrow. In this case, the work didn't disappear. I personally still don't know how you can just completely get rid of an entire department like that and just assume that the work will get done. That was my first encounter with restructuring and company layoffs. But it wasn't my last. Okay, so my next story was later on that year, last November, the company decided to lay off 160 employees. So they laid off 160 employees right before Thanksgiving. And to me, this was just terrifying. To me, this is the worst possible thing that can happen. Who wants to be laid off right before the holidays when you have to go see your family and talk about your career and your job and how things are going? That to me is just the worst timing when it comes to layoffs. But specifically, this story I think really bothers me because someone I know got laid off, and they had a family. They were very specialized within the company. They had their PhD. They are somebody who I would consider was safe prior to that from layoffs. You're a higher up employee. You are somebody in management. They're somebody well favored with the clients. They have a client facing role. To me, all of these things signaled that they had a secure job and a secure role, but that just wasn't true. This person got laid off, and I think it really bothered me at the time because it was right around the holidays and I knew they had a family. Ultimately, I know they got like a severance package and things like that in order to, like after they were laid off. But still, I feel like it's kind of disappointing to see that some people that you would consider safe and in a high up career, and like somebody that's well respected at their job, knows what they're doing, you know, has been with the company for a while, they are still not safe from layoffs. So what I hope you take from this story is that even highly respected, well-respected, higher up employees aren't safe from layoffs. Even in a specialized role, you are still vulnerable to layoffs. And ultimately, layoffs don't care how specialized you are or how long you've been in the role or how long you've been with the company. If the company wants to lay you off, they will. Ultimately, I felt better about it because I knew that the person got a severance. But I know that the job market right now isn't really the best, especially in our industry and our location. I think they're still looking for a job. I'm not entirely sure, but it still just really disappoints me that somebody that was so good at their job was vulnerable to layoffs. Okay, so the last story that I have around layoffs also really impacted me. So one coworker that I had, they were a black woman, and I personally think that's why it stuck with me so much, because, you know, there's a lot of other factors surrounding being a black woman in the workplace. So I don't know personally, I didn't personally experience her work ethic, and I don't know about her performance at the job. I just know that she was black and she had been with the company for a while. She was in a management role, and generally that's all I know about her. But I know that she got laid off, and I know that her layoff was deeply influenced by office politics. What I do know is that a highly respected coworker of hers had an ultimatum with their manager saying that if this person continues to stay in their role, then I will be leaving the company. A few weeks later, she was mysteriously laid off, the only person on her team to be laid off. You know, I can't speak for her performance or her work ethic or anything like that, but it's just crazy to think that somebody who, I don't know about her, like I said, I have no idea about her performance on the job, but clearly it has nothing to do with performative factors if the other person that I told you was also laid off. This person could just be put on the blacklist because somebody at work doesn't like them. And I guess what I hope that you gain from this story is that sometimes layoffs have nothing to do with performance. They are entirely based on office politics, and you don't always need a reason to lay somebody off. If an opportunity presents itself and people don't like you in the office, then they can take that opportunity to put you on the list of people that get laid off. I think for me, this story has an added layer of complexity because she was a black woman. It's hard to know, like I said, because I didn't personally work with her, but it's hard to know if just she rubbed somebody the wrong way or she had like a personality that, you know, sometimes people just deem it too loud or what. I don't know what it is. I think some of these things can be a little bit more complex and racially charged than they are purely based off of work performance. So I know all of this can be really discouraging. I'm sitting here telling you about how all these people I know got laid off, and I think what I realized as I was writing this story is it's really healing for me to talk about because, you know, nobody wants to talk about layoffs. They just happen and you have to move on and figure out how to keep yourself above water and move on. But I do think it was very healing for me to make this video and write this video. Like, I didn't realize how many interactions I had with people getting laid off until I like sat down and wrote about it and thought a lot about why I'm thinking so much about what do I do if I get laid off. And the good news is you're not powerless to protect yourself from being laid off. I think the easiest thing you can do to protect yourself from layoffs is to make any decision towards financial independence. It doesn't matter what the decision is. You can start by tracking your expenses, or avoiding debt, or trying to increase your income, or there's many things that you could do, but any decision that you make towards pursuing financial independence will protect you from the threat of being laid off. The next line of protection is building an emergency fund. So just knowing that you have money set aside if something happens will set you up to be more mentally prepared for the uncertainty of being laid off. So for example, if you do get a severance package, anything that you have set aside would just last you that much longer. In case something like this were to happen. So you just increasing your runway for uncertainty. And personally, when I focus on building an emergency, I like to focus on building 3 to 6 months of income versus 3 to 6 months of expenses, because you can always scale back your expenses if things are getting tight, versus once you have that income set aside, you can pay yourself that regular salary that you are expecting for 3 to 6 months. And then on top of scaling back your expenses, you'll be really positioned well if something bad happens. Then if you get some type of severance, or if you qualify for unemployment, things like that, those are all just added bonuses on top of whatever you have set aside. Finally, always diversify your income with side hustles. So if you have something on the side that you work on, for example, I think right now I'm looking for pet care for my dog, and I'm realizing how many people that I know pet sit for Rover, just using their yard and having a dog hang out with them for the weekend, and they're getting paid hundreds of dollars. What a great side hustle to consider. So side hustles, freelance work, anything you can do on the side that if something happens, you can position yourself to just ramp that up and make money in the meantime. For example, my fiance is someone who loves working out, and so he's a coach on the side. So if something were to happen with his main job, I'm sure he could just tell his side job, like, hey, I can coach more. And they would be like, great, we would love for you to coach more, and give him tons of hours, and that would help buffer if any type of disruption were to happen at work. So there you have it. That's my strategy for staying flexible amidst uncertainty. Let me know in the comments, what are your thoughts about layoffs in today's economy? Do you think they're a part of a bigger trend? Have you ever experienced a layoff? Let me know in the comments. Do you feel prepared for one if one were to happen? Like this video if you found the information helpful, and make sure you subscribe so you never miss another video. And don't forget to sign up for the new and improved Wealth and Wellness Weekly. This is 52 actionable challenges designed to help you earn more money, save more money, and spend money on things you actually care about. There's going to be some bonus tips in there to help you stay flexible amidst uncertainty. So make sure you subscribe to that. The link is in the description. That's it for today. Bye!